Hey everyone, welcome to the debut of Thought Junkies. My name is Beth White, this is Johnny White, you might recognize us from Too White. Here we are, and we actually have we've brought on a guest.
Very special guest.
Very special guest.
This is Mr. Happy McPinkerton.
The Shut the Fuck Up Ball. Now, just to explain that a little bit, you know how in a lot of like counseling groups and that kind of thing, they have the talking stick? Well, something that
we came up with.
Oh, I understand. Bring it back.
As long as she is holding that ball, she can't talk. And that's how we're going to help regulate this
this lovely little friendly debate podcast that we have going. We are, just to kind of explain this a little bit, Johnny and I, we are very close as siblings, and we love to have a couple of drinks and just get into just the craziest and most amazing conversations, basically just about the way that we think and our views on the world and different theories that we've come up with, and just all of this really incredible stuff that we find a lot of people are too afraid to talk about, which is one of the issues that we're going to be addressing. And so basically this is just a way to voice our opinion and find people like us, like-minded people that feel like they've been ostracized and kind of pushed out of society and made to feel like, you know, they're different from everybody else, and that's wrong. And that's definitely something that we would like to address and reach out to you and be like, hey, welcome to the group.
So, one of the things we were talking about earlier is about me. And actually, this may surprise you, but when I'm in front of a camera or when I'm in public, I get kind of nervous and introspective, almost insecure in a way, that I may not be appropriate to what other people want. I just kind of feel nervous and not exactly 100% myself. And so we were kind of talking about why I may be feeling that way and why maybe some of you might feel kind of similarly, and just exploring different aspects of that.
So I guess, Johnny, why do you think that is, in your opinion, in your own words?
Well, I think that society in general has a very particular way that they expect people to be and act and that sort of thing when they're in public. And to kind of fit into a box of, I don't know.
Like a sort of mold. Like a societal mold that has been sort of presented. You know, like when you're going through high school, you've got the different cliques. You've got the jocks, you've got the cheerleaders, you've got the stoners, and you've got, you know, the losers and, you know, whoever it is. Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
Whatever I'm trying to say, as I said, I get nervous and I get lost for words. But, yeah, I guess if we're going to that subject of cliques, I guess it most commonly is used in the environment of schooling or high school, college type thing. You have your cliques and all that kind of thing, and then there's you. And you is you, and there's no way around that. But at some point, it sometimes feel that you have to be a certain way in order to be accepted by people that you don't even know, which is kind of messed up when you think about it. To make that kind of assumption about yourself and about the other person that you're looking at is you're pretty much assuming that they may not accept you or may kind of feel weird about you, and it's a strange place to be in, to feel that way about yourself.
Or even I find to give somebody that you don't know, or even if you're anything like me, multiple somebody's pretty much everybody that you've ever met, that kind of power over you to dictate who you are supposed to be and the kind of norms that you're supposed to apply to. And I want to put some quotations on those norms, because like, why should that really be a thing? I find it's just so rare to be able to find somebody that has been able to break away from that, to be able to break away from that general way of thinking, and have not even the confidence, but more just the ignorance of expectation, I suppose, to be able to branch off of that and kind of say, there's already too many people like you, I'm gonna be me, thanks, sort of thing. It's just like to really appreciate the beauty in something different, the beauty in something that doesn't quite fit in really the ordinary. It really bothers me, the kind of mentality that society has, where everybody has to kind of fit into that box, to fit into what everybody else is doing. The only way to be cool is to do what the cool kid is doing.
I completely agree with that. I think that in order to fit into a clique, you have to be a certain way and act a certain way, and a lot of us aren't. Well, maybe not a lot of us, but some of us at least are not like that. Some people do tend to think differently and seek to discover themselves in a new way, something abstract than what they see around them. Because sometimes people see others as following a particular path that's very straight and something that you have to conform to and adhere to be socially accepted.
Yeah. I really hate that term, socially accepted, because I feel like every individual person is born with their personality, their way of thinking, the things that make them different, and it's like they are their edges. Edges, like, you look at a rock, right? And you compare, like, rocks on a beach to rocks in a fish tank. Rocks in a fish tank have been sanded down. They've been crafted. They've been molded into that perfect, circular, smooth stone shape. A rock on the beach has that edge, but to me that edge is like a flare. It's what makes that rock unique, different from the crowd. And to me, that is a beautiful thing. That rock that has that edge, like if one from the beach happened to find its way into that fish tank, you look at it and you go, that's different, and it's beautiful in its own way. It has a uniqueness to it. No other rock is ever the same as that rock with those edges, and that should be, I feel like that should be something that the people aspire to, that, well, not even aspire to, it's something that they should allow to happen.
The true beauty cannot be found in perfection.
Exactly, and perfection in itself is, when you really think about it, it doesn't exist.
It's a lie.
It doesn't exist. Because perfection to each one of us is an idealistic term. It really is, because each one of us sees perfection as something completely different. Maybe not completely different, but there is at least a hint of difference in every single view of perfection. There is no unanimous view. I think the best way that this was described to me was Walt Disney. And Walt Disney created, the original Disneyland was kind of like a utopia. and it was the whole concept of the cute little cottage house with the white picket fence and the red door. And every house looked the same. And to him, that was perfection. But if you said somebody like me in there, I'm looking around and I'm going, this is hell. How do you tell the houses apart?
Where's the diversity?
Why would anyone want to live this way? And just, it drives me crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, where's the diversity? I think that if you see perfection over and over and over again, it becomes non-existent. I think the most powerful things in the world are things that stand out, things that make you notice them, things that demand your acknowledgement and recognition. The imperfections are really where the true beauty lies. Sorry, say booty.
There's nothing wrong with a good booty either.
Yeah.
One thing that I would like to say to that though is, I mean, you get the conformists, you get the people that just want to fit into that mold, that just want to be a part of the mass, be sheeple. Do you know what I mean by that?
They want to fit in.
Yeah, sheep
what's
have
normal.
that mind mentality of you are a part of the flock. There are no real individuals for most people that think of sheep, which is why I say sheeple, because people aspire to be that. They aspire to be whatever it is that makes them fit. But there's another completely opposite type of person. Being unique is something that you shouldn't have to try for, I feel, because the other type of person are the people that try to be unique. They deliberately try to find something different and exploit it just for the attention that they will get. And I guess kind of the point that I'm trying to make to all of this. Yeah.
If I can just say, I don't think that people can try to be unique. They can...
Lady Gaga.
Okay. People are always trying to find things that have never been done before. But if you are trying to be unique, you are not really being unique.
That is exactly the point that I was trying to make.
You can't hold that. Give me the shut the fuck up ball.
No, that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make. And we were kind of talking about this earlier. It's
yeah,
I'm
totally with you.
Yeah, it's like that song "I Must Be Emo" by Hollywood Undead. It's the line that goes, "I'm an emo kid, non-conforming as can be. You'd be non-conforming too if you look just like me," kind of thing. It's like deliberately going out of your way to be different, and therefore becoming a part of the crowd of people that are trying to be different. I don't understand that. I don't understand. Like on a theoretical level, I understand why the world is the way that it is, because people want to fit, and that's just kind of what we've been taught to aspire to, but I don't understand why so much effort has to be put into who somebody is.
I think, as far as uniqueness goes, I think that people want to be unique. I think that's fairly natural and primitive of our being. To look at someone and go, oh, they're different. I want to be just like that.
Yeah.
And so you mask yourself out of this thing, and I think one of the biggest problems is people never really truly come to understand who they are as a person, because every person is unique, but most people try to mask themselves over or through other unique type people, and so they never really come to understand themselves. So it's like the conformists have their own little clique too, and so if you try to be them, you're technically conformist as well. And it's really about looking within yourself, discovering who you really are, discovering what you have to offer, and what you're about, and just putting it out there, just projecting that. That is what's going to make the uniqueness shine through, and it's going to make it come through, and it's going to just embody and emulate who you really are.
Yeah. I feel like uniqueness has become something to strive for, which kind of makes me sad, because realistically uniqueness is the most simple thing on the planet if you think about it. Uniqueness is simply being who you are. Uniqueness is simply not going out of your way to compare yourself to somebody that you aspire to. Not to say that people shouldn't have aspirations and ways that they want to grow and better themselves and all of that kind of thing, but to go out of their way to try and become someone like the person that is personifying that level of uniqueness that they aspire to, just kind of understanding that you already have it. It's already you. You already are unique. You don't have to fight for it. All you have to do is kind of sit down with yourself and just realize who you are and be okay with that. And we live in the era and the kind of society right now where we're made to feel like that's not okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. It's a very good point and a very simple point that it's so simple that it just crosses.
It's so simple, it's complicated.
No, it just crosses over the heads of people. Is that you are already unique. You have your own brain. You have to discover that spark that's in you, that's a part of you, that embodies what is you. Project it forth. Use it more and more. Develop it. And that's where uniqueness comes from. That's where the creativity of a single person, the imagination of a person, will always create in their own way. If it's not backed by I'm trying to be this or I'm trying to be that. If you reach that place within yourself and grow from there, it's gonna be something that people haven't seen before, because it's you, and the more you grow it and the more you metabolize that into yourself, that's where the biggest differences and the major breakthroughs come from, is it's coming up with something new, discovering something else. Every scientist that's made a breakthrough has had pull that out of themselves and display it for the world.
Sure. And this is kind of an ironic statement that I would really like your thoughts on, because I can only speak from personal experience on this, and I won't go too far in depth here and make it a sob story or anything. It's just I've never been the kind of person that's fit in. I've always been very different. I've always thought very differently, and I've always for a good long time I always strived to be accepted, to be a part of whatever clique I was looking at the time, and just looking to other people really to validate who I was. And the ironic thing about that is that when I eventually found who it was that I was, except, grammatically correct, it was actually based off of what people saw in me. But it was in a completely different view. Instead of looking to someone else to find the traits within myself that I could be like them, instead I shifted my gaze as to looking at what other people saw in me that they appreciated. So it was still very much based off of other people and what their opinions were. But in a sense, I used that as a way of finding who I was, finding the things about me that were actually different. So really it's a matter of kind of perspective and how you perceive not only yourself but what others perceive of you, and using that as kind of a vantage point to delve a little bit deeper into yourself, which I feel is kind of a mentality that, you know, a lot of people don't have, and definitely something that I kind of tripped on by accident. Probably I'm not the only one, but what's your take on that?
Well, I think you bring up a very good point there. If I can backtrack to the scientist thing, I almost walked into a barrier there. Because every scientist that has existed has standed on the shoulders of scientists and discoverers that came before them. Mm-hmm. And Nikola Tesla spoke about science as growing a garden. You're planting the seeds for future generations to point the way. Mm-hmm. That I might have misquoted that, maybe something like that. But even though you discovered what was different and unique about yourself through other people, there is a part of you that feels, and there is a part of you that thinks, but there's also a part of you that is able to step back and look at those thoughts and those feelings, and be able to analyze them and dissect them, and to greater understand them, because thoughts are very frivolous, as are emotions and feelings and all of that kind of stuff. But your friends may have helped you along the way, and you were standing upon your shoulders, but it was you that took that,
Made the decision,
the major plunge that discovered that about yourself, what made you unique. So you have to give yourself some credit, you know? or quite a bit of credit, I would say.
Sure. Okay. So, sorry, do you find that, this is something that I've noticed, particularly within myself, a lot of the reason why I feel that I am different is because I spend a lot of time, and again, this comes across as a little bit ironic based off of the things that we've already talked about, is that I spend a lot of time perceiving or trying to pick up on how other people view my actions. So really thinking about other people and how they would feel about what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Do you find that that is something that not a lot of people do, and that might be a lot of the reason why we have kind of the cliques and the groups that we do and that kind of thing, because it's all about kind of, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like there's a difference in mentality between you know, having that need of acceptance, of needing what other people to think about you to reflect in a certain way that makes you accepted, as opposed to having that same sort of mentality, but instead of it needing to be because you're accepted, it's a need to not hurt anyone. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
That difference in mentality, that difference of selfish versus selfless.
Yes.
Kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean. You can worry about what someone is thinking in the moment based on are they criticizing me? Are they judging me right now? Mm. Or you can also come at it from the other side, whether am I hurting someone's feelings? Was what I said
Exactly,
inappropriate? Did I offend anyone? And that's a great point. And I think it comes down to communication. If we can communicate, if human beings could communicate correctly, I do believe that would solve many, many problems in the world. If we were able to say exactly what we wanted to say, exactly the way we wanted to say it, and if people were able to do the same to us and we would reciprocate exactly what they meant, I think that would be a major, major milestone.
Maybe even just to even have that, be able to get to that point where we have that level of communication where we're able to understand that what that person is telling us is actually what they mean, as opposed to the translation that we have in our head. It's like, I saw actually a very well written out comic. I don't remember who did it. It was just something that I saw on Facebook, but it was about kind of the difference in mentality of people, and I thought it was really interesting because it basically threw up a whole bunch of social situations and what that person was thinking about what they thought the other person was thinking. So it was like a whole situation of, you know, a guy was talking to his friend and he was like, okay, well, I've got to be like, you know, I've got to be super macho so that this guy will respect me, and that's what that guy was thinking. And then it pans over to the other guy who's thinking, man, this guy is being a total jerk. Like, why is he being so aggressive? Kind of thing. And just having that whole miscommunication because we don't have that communication. There's a lack of communication. That's where the miss comes in.
Right.
Sort of thing. So it's just like I know for a fact that I don't really trust the things that people tell me, honestly, because I've found that a lot of the time they're saying it because they feel like it'll be taken the wrong way if they say what they're actually thinking, when in reality it would have panned over better if they'd have just told me what they were thinking, because I would have understood them better.
Well, I think that's one of the things that, I know you saw that on Facebook, but I think that's one of the things that Facebook is famous for, and texting is famous for, is misinterpreting what we mean. And there's some people that you run across, they're very easily offended. Some people are going to get offended if you bring up certain subjects, any subject that might be detrimental in any case. But yeah, I often get nervous when I'm sending text messages for that exact reason, because trying to convey what I'm trying to say through literary type is quite tricky. But
It's interesting, I find, because
I had the ball the whole time.
I'm very sorry.
Sorry. No, I was talking.
It's interesting, I find, because I find that that's not like, it is definitely a much stronger factor hiding behind a screen, and conveying it through text messages is a lot harder to pick up. But on the same token, kind of the different side of that token, it can also be very difficult face to face, because what's the best way to explain this? People are trying to put up a front anyway. They're trying to come across as a certain way, and I've spent a lot of time studying people, studying tones of voice, studying body language, studying just the way that people communicate without actually meaning to communicate. The difference between what they're trying to say and what they're actually saying. And I know that you and I have come across this a few times, where I will look at your facial expression, I'll listen to your tone, and I'll assume what you're saying based off of that. And the difference is that you don't really have that kind of integration that most people have, because you've spent a lot of your time building yourself up by retreating within yourself, which means you don't have those outside influences, which means you don't have the same What's the word I'm looking for? Syncrasies, as most people do. So it's really easy for me to pick that up for most people and kind of understand what they're saying without them actually saying it. Which is something most people aren't very good at. But this is definitely a topic that we can pick up at another date.
So thank you for joining us for episode 1 of Thought Junkies. We appreciate you being here, and if you made it through the whole thing, I applaud you. Congratulations. We will come up with another one very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks.